You're going to start your business in 2025, and in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how. By the way, this video is sponsored by Honeybook, more on them later. All right, let's dive right in by talking about the first thing you need to nail. We're going to call this your fundamentals. Now, this is the kind of stuff that isn't as glamorous as some of the other things we'll be talking about in today's video, but it's potentially the most important factor when it comes to whether or not you're going to really start and grow this business this year. There are 3 different things that come under your fundamentals, and I'm going to give you some no fluff advice on how to nail each of them. The first is your mindset. Do not roll your eyes at me. I promise you, your mindset is as important as everyone says. For the purpose of this video, I just want you to focus on adopting a mindset in which you believe your failures are lessons. We all probably know someone who has that tattoo. You know, the one that says like, no failures, only lessons. And it's a bit corny because they got it before their frontal lobe was fully developed. No hate here. I got this tattoo before my frontal lobe was developed. So if you have that tattoo, me and you are one and the same. In all seriousness, this mindset is vital when it comes to starting a new business because you will make mistakes and you will fail from time to time, but there is a lesson in every single failure. Because the worst thing you could do is start a business venture, encounter some problems or maybe some failures, and then quit the entire business because you failed in some way. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. I have done that myself many a time. The next thing you want to do is establish some clear goals. Ideally, you need at least one goal and you want to make sure it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, realistic, and time bound. AKA SMART. That is what that acronym stands for. I always advise that if you're fresh on the scene and this is your first business, start out with one goal and make sure it's financial in some way. Unless you're not starting a business for financial gain, in which fair enough, but most people watching this are. So make sure you have some kind of financial goal that you're aiming for so that you have a clear idea of what success looks like to you. The third and final part of your fundamentals is your North Star. This is my favorite part. Your North Star is essentially your guiding light. I want you to figure out why you are starting this business. What is the deep reason? Is it because you want to help people through your business? Maybe it's because you want to provide for your family. Maybe it's because you want time freedom. You want to define this really beautiful North Star. You want to write it down and place it all over your home, on your fridge, on your bedroom door, change your desktop background on your laptop so that it reads what your North Star is. Put it everywhere, because when times get rough, and trust me, they will get rough, that's what happens when you run a business, you need to be consistently reminded why you are doing this, because that is what's going to keep you on track. Okay, so we've nailed the fundamentals. Super proud of you. Before we move on to your business idea, we do need to make sure that you're using the right tools to set yourself up for success. Now, a vital tool for many businesses is called Honeybook. Honeybook helps small businesses book more clients, manage products, and get paid all in one place. Honeybook saves independent business owners like you time, money, and stress by automating tasks, managing invoices, contracts, and payments all in one platform. Take it from someone who has previously done every single one of those tasks manually for her business. Me, those tasks often take up the most amount of time. Trust me when I say this. You think it won't, but that is the stuff that will take the most amount of time, and Honeybook allows you to automate all of it. Now, your new business will likely involve you working with clients. For example, for my business, I work with consultancy clients. This can sometimes come with challenges, receiving payments on time, for example, managing your proposals, even tracking your leads. Honeybook can help you streamline all of this. A couple of things that you can benefit from when you join Honeybook. One thing that I love is their seamless booking. This basically allows your clients to book available dates to meet with you or to work with you without you having to do all of that very annoying back and forth. It basically simplifies the scheduling process and it ensures that you avoid any booking conflicts. Another element of Honeybook that I think you'll find super useful is their customizable templates for proposals and contracts. Now, I think this is going to be music to a lot of your ears, especially the contracts part, because I know contracts can be incredibly intimidating, especially when you're new to the world of business. Honeybook provides you with professional templates, helping you create polished proposals and contracts in minutes. When you use these templates, you come across as very professional, and it ensures that you make a great impression on your clients from the very start. Now, the fact that you're watching this means that you want to start or grow your business in 2025, and I have good news, because right now, all Honeybook annual plans are 25% off. So now really is the time for you to set yourself up for success. Let me show you a quick behind the scenes so you can see what Honeybook looks like in action. This is their pipeline tool. It basically allows you to view and organize all of your client projects in one place. And this is what it looks like when you create proposals and invoices for your clients. So you can do it all within Honeybook. You can make it look exactly how you like. And the end result is a super professional proposal and a way for you to invoice your clients seamlessly. So start for free or join for 25% off at honeybook.com only now for Cyber Week. Link in my description. Okay, let's move on to the fun part. We are coming up with your business idea. Now, if you already have a business idea, that's fine. You can follow these steps just to make sure that your business idea is viable. The first thing we want to think about is the market, and specifically identifying a market gap. There are 2 different ways that we can look at this. You can either find a gap in the market, or you can find a market in the gap. I know that sounds confusing, but let me just explain. A gap in the market is the phrase that you've probably heard people use the most commonly. And this is basically when there's an opportunity in an existing industry, right? For example, when I first started my business, the industry that I was entering was the marketing, content creation, influencing industry. But the gap that I was filling is in educating the influencers and creators on marketing. Believe it or not, that wasn't being done very much at the time. It was only 4 years ago. Things have changed. But back then, that was a gap in the market that needed filling, right? So try and figure out what market or industry you're trying to play in and try and identify a gap in which your product or service can play in. In my opinion, a gap doesn't mean that no one else is doing that. It just means that not many people are doing it. So in my example, again, there were a handful of people doing it back then, but there weren't that many, but also there weren't that many Black British females doing it. So there was still a bit of a gap there for me to fill. Now, some people choose to go the other route, which is to find a market in the gap. Now, this is the harder one because you're basically creating an entire new space that wasn't there before. A good example for this is like the first social media site, which now that I think about it, given my niche, I should probably know what that was. In my head, it was MySpace. Am I right? I know MySpace was the first one that I was ever exposed to, but there might have been some obscure... Should I Google it? Let me just Google it. What am I guessing?
A few moments later.
Okay. Ooh, I was wrong. Apparently the first social media site was called 6 Degrees and it was created in 1997. It was only like 5 years old then, so you guys have to excuse me for that error. The first social media site, 6 Degrees, apparently, is a great example of finding a market in the gap, so this other strategy, because they basically created something completely new that filled a space. So they created a brand new market and industry to fill a gap. So it was a completely different strategy. As I mentioned, that's the harder strategy. So I'm going to take a wild guess and say that you're going to do the first one, which is to find a gap in the market. Great. Once you've identified that, I then want you to move on to ideating a product or a service which solves a problem. So you know what space you're playing in, right? You found the gap in the market. You now need to make sure that whatever it is you're creating is solving a problem. If it's not solving a problem, it will not work. Plain and simple. If you're stuck on this section, a piece of advice I would give you is to start creating content about the industry that you've picked on whichever channel you desire and start doing it soon. Even though you don't have your product or your service created yet, you might not have even figured out what your brand is yet, that's fine. Just start creating and just start talking about the industry that you're in. The reason why I advise that you do this is because it's a great way for you to research your audience and identify a problem that you can solve. For example, when I first started my YouTube channel, for the first month, I was just creating. I know that's not very long, but I turned it into a business pretty quickly. But the first month, I was just creating. And therefore, I was talking about a bunch of different things all under the umbrella of content creation and entrepreneurship. You guys, my OGs, were the ones who told me what problem I needed to solve. You guys were the ones who said, like, actually, I don't really get the marketing side of becoming a creator or starting a business. So I used that information to build my products and services. And you can do the exact same thing. Before we move on to the next step, I want you to ensure that you can summarize your product or service in one sentence. So maybe it's that you create viral social media content for brands. Like, that's your service, your content creator. Maybe you sell digital presets for photographers. Whatever it is that you do, I need you to be able to sum that up in one sentence before we move on to the next step. Okay, so this next step is to create your product or service. Now, obviously, there's only so much guidance I can give when it comes to doing this because you're all going to have different ideas. If you actually want more like personalized guidance from me, I do have a membership called The Collective. And if you join as a pro member, you get bi-weekly office hours. I'm smiling to myself because I know bi-weekly means different things in different locations. So fortnightly, is that a better way of saying it? Every other week we do office hours and you can ask me your questions and I can give you feedback on stuff. So if you're interested, I'll put a link below. For now though, let's provide some general guidance when it comes to creating your product or service. There are a few different things that you'll need to set up to really get your business going. The first is your website. Now there are a bunch of different website tools that you can use out there. Some of the most popular ones are Shopify if you're selling a product, Wix or Squarespace. I have tried all of them. I've used all of them. They're all great. I've also used others. There are so many out there. Do some desktop research and find the one that works best for you. If you are creating an educational product like a course or a membership, you will need to find a content platform to host all of that. I currently use Uscreen for my membership. In the past, I have used Kajabi. There's other platforms like Teachable. Again, desktop research will get you really far with this. See if any of them have some free trials so that you can test out the user interface and see which one you naturally prefer. If you have clients clients, then a client management tool will be super important, such as HoneyBook. Remember, you can get 25% off at the moment for Cyber Week, link in my description. And then you'll also likely need a design platform, especially if you intend to create your graphics yourself when you're starting out, which I do recommend, by the way. You can always hire a designer later down the line, but there's so much value in doing these tasks by yourself first. There are so many different beginner-friendly cloud-based design tools that you can use. One that I'm really loving at the minute is Adobe Express, but other ones include Canva, Pixar, there's loads. Another tool that is slightly more advanced, but if you are a bit more advanced, maybe you've run a business before, you might want to start your journey with this too, and that is an email service provider. And that basically allows you to gather email addresses for your audience or your customers and send out regular email communications to them so that you can bond with them, send discount codes, etc. Right? The one that I use is called Kit, previously known as ConvertKit, but there are other ones such as ActiveCampaign and MailChimp. I actually just filmed a whole video about email marketing for beginners. I will link to it up here because I think you'll find it very useful. Okay, so you have your business idea, you've set up your website, and hopefully you've got started with creating whatever product or service it is that you're going to sell. We can now move on to marketing your business. This is my favorite part. Now, marketing is a very big subject, obviously, and I'm not going to spend like 7 hours talking about the full ways for you to market and advertise your product. Instead, I'm just going to give you a really simple step-by-step guide to market your business for a beginner. Now, there are different marketing channels that you can use in order to spread the word about your brand new product or service. There's social media marketing, email marketing, influencer, affiliate, display. That's like when you go on different websites and ads pop up in the corner. That's called display advertising. PR, events, the list just goes on. What we're going to do is pick one that is free and that is easy for you to get started with. Social media is free, and I'm willing to bet that you have some experience with social media up until this point. Even if you were just using it for personal use, you still have some experience in this area. So we're therefore going to start off with social media as your marketing channel. So in order for you to start using social media to market your brand new business, you want to first identify which social media channel you're going to focus on. There are so many different platforms you could pick from. There's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, etc. If you are a business who is focused on just getting the word out there about your products and services, which is usually what a lot of newbies are focused on, what I'm going to do for you is rank the most popular social media platforms based on the one that is most likely to help you reach a large audience in a short amount of time. Because I know that small businesses, that is your main goal. You're fresh on the scene. You just want people to know about your product or your service. Okay. If we're going by that, right? TikTok is number one. It is the platform that is the most likely to help you reach a large audience of people, even if you're new. Under that, I would say YouTube, but YouTube requires a lot of work, a lot of studying to understand what makes that platform tick. So keep that in mind. I would then actually say Pinterest, because if you spend a lot of time focusing on pinning valuable content, you can actually end up getting a lot of visits to your page and you can redirect those visits to your website. Then I would say Instagram, because Instagram is notoriously difficult to grow on as a newbie, even though they are trying to make it easier. It's still very, very difficult. And then I would say X or Twitter, and that's more because it's hard to get the right message out there to promote your product or service on a platform that is very text heavy. Okay, so you've picked your platform. It's now time to think about the content that you're going to share on that platform. The most important thing to keep in mind is you want to be sharing valuable content. Please, please, please do not start your journey by just sharing photos of your product or service or only talking about your product or service. People are on social media to be entertained, to get a dopamine hit. A photo of your services broken down is not going to do that for them. You want to be focusing on creating educational, entertaining, relatable, or inspirational content. You can jump between those different 4 value points if you like, or you could just stick with one. It's totally up to you. The point is that you want to be doing at least one of those every time you post. And that will mean that a lot of your content won't even mention your product or service. That's okay, right? The aim is to provide valuable content for your audience. In return, they will follow you, they'll engage with you, and they might even buy from you. Okay, I don't think I'd be doing my job properly if I didn't mention the boring stuff, which is the next step. I'm literally going to call this step the boring stuff. This is the boring but very important things, such as tax, money, and like registering your business. Now, I am not an accountant, nor am I a lawyer, so I'm going to tread very carefully when it comes to my advice for this section. Here are some things for you to consider. Your business structure. For example, in most countries, there are sole traders and there are corporations. I'm actually set up as a corporation. I recommend that you do your own research to figure out which of those works best for you, but let me just tell you why I decided to register as a limited company or a corporation. The reason why I decided is because I knew that I would have a lot of expenses for my company. So I literally spend thousands and thousands every single month on my team, on equipment, on systems, on tools, like this ain't cheap, right? So because I knew I would have a lot of expenses, I did some research and I realized that if I was set up as a corporation, I would not have to pay taxes on any of my expenses. So any of the money that I earn that I then spend to run the business, I don't have to pay tax on that. Whereas if I was a sole trader, I would have to pay tax on that. Obviously, there are so many other things to take into account when it comes to which you're going to be, but that is one of the main reasons why I picked a limited company and I've not looked back. There's actually an accounting masterclass inside my membership, The Collective, which I will link to below. And it's actually run by the founder of the accountancy firm that I work with. She's called Rachel. She's also on YouTube. I'll link to her YouTube channel below, but it's super useful. So if you're already a member, make sure you watch that masterclass. Other boring things that you need to consider is making sure that your website has a privacy policy and also a terms of service. You can get templates for this online, and a lot of the tools that you use to set up your website will do this for you automatically anyway. Also, please make sure you have a separate bank account for your business. Even if you don't think you're going to make money for a while, just set up a separate bank account. It will make your accounting so much easier. You will thank me later. And speaking of accounting, make sure that you are tracking all of your expenses, so your outgoings and all of your incomings, okay? Okay, that's it for the boring stuff. So those are the main things you need to know and the main steps you need to follow to start your business this year. Don't forget that you can start Honeybook for free or join for 25% off for Cyber Week using the link in my description. If you feel like hanging around, I recommend watching this video. I actually mentioned it earlier. It's all about email marketing. I think you'll find it really useful. It's specifically for beginners. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I cannot wait to see you in my next video.